I'm Dr. Ryan DeBell from Movement Fix. This is Movement Fix Monday. In this video, I want to talk to you about Romanian deadlifts, or RDLs, or stiff-legged deadlifts. Gosh, there's so many names for everything, isn't there? But the reason I want to talk about this is I think that Romanian deadlifts are an underutilized way of getting people back into deadlifting who have had a tweaked back or they've had back pain in the past. You know, if you think about a barbell deadlift off the ground, what is the most challenging position for the back? It's the bottom, right? Because people, you know, if you've had back pain, you'll, especially flexion intolerant back pain specifically, meaning it hurts to bend forward, and you've done deadlifts and you've tweaked it, when you get down to the bottom here, it's like, this is the most potentially like stressful position to start. And so if that's where you're starting back, I think you're missing a really great option, which is a Romanian deadlift. You're essentially starting at the top with a Romanian deadlift, and you can get your alignment, and then you can brace and stiffen, and then challenge the depth. And it's such a great entry point exercise for so many people who've had back pain that is often missed, instead trying to go lighter and start on the ground, which again, it's like the more challenging position. You could go a little bit heavier and actually stabilize the spine and build more strength than going lighter and starting in a position where the spine might not be able to be held as well. So what I got here is, I like to start people on this with a rack pull. So basically, starting with the bar in the rack, and you could even start it higher than this. Probably, you know, the higher the better when you're getting people to re-enter into any sort of barbell deadlifting. So we'll go down here, we'll lift it up. You gotta be careful if, you know, if you're trying to reintegrate somebody into deadlifting, you can't just rip it out of the rack. You gotta treat that like a lift, because guess what? It is a lift. So you gotta treat it that way. So we'll go down here, stiffen, brace, and then lift it up. Okay, now I'm gonna kind of turn to the side. So the point of this, when you're using it as a re-entry point exercise, is not necessarily how deep can I go. It's about building confidence. It's about the muscles of the spine working isometrically and building some strength and tension, desensitization, all of those things. So what I'll do is I'll start at the top, and a really nice way to, where do you put your hands is if you can take your thumbs like this and kind of brush up against your legs. That gives you an idea of like, okay, it's gonna be fine there. Now what I'll do is I'll get about a shoulder width stance. I'll try to have my spine neutral at the top. So if somebody doesn't know how to do that, you should teach them that in a cat-cow, in my opinion, so they understand what that means. From here, I'll breathe in. I'll kind of stiffen my abdomen a little bit. And then what I'm doing is pushing my butt back, but look how my knees are bent a little bit. So my knees are slightly bent, so I'm not doing like this deadlift here. It's slight bend. I'm sliding the barbell down, and I'm holding that brace. And I may just go to there with somebody and then come back up. Everybody always tries to go as far as they can. And we don't need to do that right away. There's a time and a place for that for sure. But as a reintroduction, maybe just here to here is fine. Controlling it muscularly rather than challenging the depth and the joint positions. So pushing your butt back, letting your chest come down, and then coming back up. Now you could also, depending, again, every exercise can be anything, depending on your intention and your execution. I also like, in a different person, to use this as a stretch, the RDL. So for that person, you start at the top, you gain the position and the tension, and then you do this as a stretch, challenging as far as you can go down without, because look, if I round my back, I could definitely go farther. I guess now I'm finally doing a Jefferson curl. My back didn't blow up. Okay, but it's not really the point here. The point is getting tension and then challenging as far as you can go. And it's like a war. It is a war when you're doing it as a stretch between your ability to stabilize your pelvis. So you're stabilizing your pelvis by stiffening your core. And then you have your pelvis here, you have your ischial tuberosities. And this is elevating, so that means your hamstrings are lengthening, and the fight is between your ability to stabilize this and your hamstrings lengthening. Because if you lose this, you'll bend it and the hamstrings go off tension. If this wins, you're like tugging here and you're trying to challenge between those two things. So with the Romanian deadlift, out of a rack, Great re-entry point for people to get them back using a barbell in a hip hinging type pattern. Starting at the top, gaining position, and then challenging a little bit of depth gradually over time. I mean, it might be months and months doing that over time to build somebody back to the floor. Often overlooked. So I would do RDLs, then I would do rack pulls, and eventually try to get off the ground if that's a goal that they care about. And then simultaneously, for another person, you could use this exercise as a stretch for their hamstrings. You could do it before or after any sort of deadlift session to build range of motion and also strength at different lengths of the muscle when it's, it's more stretch versus less stretch. So those are some thoughts, you guys, on Romanian deadlifts and different ways that you can use them. That's what I got for you guys this week on Move It Fix Monday. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, I would love if you subscribe to the channel. And also we have Move It Fix podcast you could listen to. You can find it anywhere, Spotify, iTunes, whatever. And I interview a lot of really cool people, a lot of experts. I give some talks myself on topics. So make sure to check out Move It Fix podcast. And you can also find me on Instagram at Move It Fix. I'll see you guys next week.